Yeah, I tried to check if there is any component.
Yeah.
I think the routing module and everything looks good. It works.
But there is it recording or
Yeah,
shall I?
it's recording. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a comma that
Actually,
is missing. Akkada.
yeah. Uh, Actually, when we use ng model, right, we should, it will give error message saying ng model does not assign to some error message.
Yeah, so that is because the variable is not there in the component, right? That's
No,
why.
no, no. Actually, if you use ng model, we have to import forms module.
Oh, okay.
This will resolve the ng model related issues,
Okay.
but we need to see,
Form module. Yeah, you need to import.
yeah, form module. Form then only we can use this ng model here.
Okay, the form module in the app module dot ts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, got it. Form module.
So that is a mandatory step, and login success.
So how did you resolve Ganesh's message there? You just
We
added it?
added, yeah, we added any, but in my local, I'm not getting that actually. Is it?
Yeah, no, of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows it, but it doesn't show up as an error. Like,
Yeah,
if
it
you
is
go
not a
after
error
that.
actually. We can run that, but um,
Here it comes.
even I'm.
Yeah. And Uncle's, if you hover over the name, it also says it's
Yeah, it is just.
yeah, but it doesn't show the error.
Yeah.
So it's always best practice to assign the data type.
Data type, but normally we assign, but other than that also it should not prompt for any error actually.
Because by default it should take as any data type, right?
Any data type, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, there is another issue with the login. Login does not exist. Okay, I think this is.
What did you say? I'm sorry, Srinivas?
No, there is a error message, right? Property login does not exist in login service.
Yeah, login service we did not complete it.
Import?
Yeah.
Oh, it is there. No?
It's there.
It is
We
there.
did login
Yeah, I know, but it's there.
Okay, maybe we didn't save that. That's why it is giving error.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stop giving me error.
Now there is no error for this login service. Only we have this role. Is any data type errors.
Yeah, username also you need to declare as string.
But
Maybe
yeah.
login service.
The routing works, though. We checked the routing.
Yeah,
We
let's see.
checked, yeah.
Oh, is it working?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did slash and then put home and login, yeah. But okay, now it says login compliant. Now, earlier it worked for us.
Could not resolve login.css. Is it there? Oh, it is. One second.
I think because of
Mar,
the
you modified this component or created new one?
it's all this is a new app that we created, shopping cart.
But here it is actually CSS, but here the file extension is SCSS.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one I think he copied the components from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, CSS, not the CSS. You remember Uncle told you there's a difference between CSS and SCSS.
CSS and
I thought Uncle chose SCS.
Okay.
yeah, SCSS, but here in the styles URL it is mentioned as CSS. That's why it is showing error message here.
Yeah. I think it worked fine before Srinivas.
Yeah.
Before that, before you
Okay.
copied everything. Yeah.
Mar, I'll check this one, Mar. Why we are getting this error and how to resolve without specifying any. Is there any setting or
Okay, yeah.
because
So let's quickly recap something. Yeah, you can check Srinivas when you get some
yeah,
time.
I'll check
Can
that.
you
Yeah.
just quickly recap from the starting of the project creation, adding, running the project, and then adding a component, and then making sure that you add the routers in the right place. Okay, routing configuration
Ye-
and creating the router. So just quickly a 10 minutes recap, please.
Yeah, sure, Mar. I'll do that.
Yeah, he did everything. Just want him to just keep this in his mind every time, right?
Sure. Um, so I'll start from in node installation.
Yeah.
So for any uh, packages or any third-party packages which resides inside node server, so those packages we import using npm. So for that, first what we need to do is we have to install Node.js into our project, into our system. So if I go and check for the node version, node -v, so it is 14.15.4. By using this node, we can run the server as well as we can download any third party like Bootstrap or any other third party libraries. So we can use npm install. And for Angular, we have to install Angular CDK, that is CLI, that is command line interface. By using that, we can run the ng server using ng command. So ng command present inside Angular CLI. So with that, by using that, we can run and we can create components or services. So to run the to create a project, first what we'll do is we'll go to the appropriate folder and we'll run the command. So once we run the CLI, Angular CLI, this command will work. Previously, it will not work. Once we run the Angular CLI, it will show us the all available commands. So what we will do is ng new means new project and the project name. If you specify that, it will create new project and it will download all the third-party libraries which are required for the Angular project, and those will reside inside ng modules. If we expand this, it will have around hundreds of folders, but all the folders will not use at production side. Only in the development dependencies will have these node modules, and all the dependencies which we have used in this project will be saved, will be defined in this package.json file. So if anybody wants to use your project, you can just simply remove, like ignore this node module file and give it to someone else. If they want to use this project as is, you can run npm install node package manager install. So what it will do is it will get all the versions from this file, and it downloads all the libraries into node modules in their machine. So this is not mandatory to share this file, this folder. Only remaining folders we need to share. So with that, we'll get all the node modules in the target machine also. And once that is done, we are ready to start the server. So by using npm start or ng serve, we can start the application. And once the application is started, we can directly use localhost 4200 or any other available port. It will show, and it will show one message here, like which port it is running. You can directly click on that link. It opens up the page. So that is once we open, it shows us the simply skeleton of that project. It will not have anything. It will have only one app folder, and inside app folder we'll have again 4 files. One is the app component and app.css spec and ts file. HTML file will have only HTML tags and related to UI, and TypeScript will have the actual logic which we will write inside the app component.ts file. So these variables, whatever we are declaring here, if you want to use these variables inside HTML, we'll use interpolation. The interpolation basically using um, these braces, curly braces, two curly braces means it will read the variable, whatever variable inside this curly braces, it will read the value, the variable from the component, and it will display there what if the value, what is the value present in the TypeScript. If you want to change the value, directly go and change here, it will automatically reflect without refreshing the page. And the next one is property binding. So if you want to specify some properties, and if you want to change something in UI, it should if you want to access the same value inside my TypeScript, we'll use ng model. Ng model is nothing but a value binding. We can if we change at TypeScript side, it automatically reflects in UI. If you change anything in UI, it will reflect in the TypeScript file. So it is like a two-way binding. For that, we'll use ng model. In future, I'll show you how to get the values without ng model also by using forms. I'll show you how to do that. And currently, we'll go with ng model. So even in ng model also, we didn't use any forms. We directly used two fields and get the values of the two fields. So and the other one is services. So the services mainly used for to write actual business logic, like getting the values from the REST APIs and do the actual logic, because this might be used many places in our application. Like most of the cases, what we'll do is whenever we hit any URL, it goes to login page or check whether the login is successful or not. So in every component, we'll not write whether the successful login has happened already or not. So for that, we'll use one service method, check valid user or not. So the logic we'll write here, and in every component, we'll use just login service dot check login valid user or not. So this is kind of it serves as a static class, because if you initialize any variable here, it will be available throughout the application. Like in login service, if you specify username, if you assign some username, and it will be available for all the pages in our application. And the routings which we have defined, basically the functionality of routing is without refreshing the page. We can change part of the page with the actual child components, HTML. So if you see here, this will never be changed if I use routings. Only wherever we specify Angular router outlet, only that piece will be replaced with the child components HTML. So in this case, what we did is we have created two components, login component and home component. By default, if you don't specify any URL, it will redirect to login component. Inside login component, we'll have username and password fields. Once that is successful, we redirect using router.navigate and give this path. It will redirect to login page. And even inside this also, we have written some logic, like if the username, and the user can directly in most of the test case scenarios, right? Whoever is testing the application, they directly copy and paste the URLs in somewhere and check whether it is redirecting to login page. That's why we have written in home component whether the login is successful or not. If it is not successful, then we are redirecting to login page for the login.
Yeah.
I hope I covered.
Yeah, I think you covered. The only thing that I was thinking you missed was adding the routes when and where. It's in the app modules.js. TS is where you add the routes, and also you import those route module in the imports, right?
Import the app
Imports.
module.
And
Yeah,
what
we can.
app routing module.ts?
Yeah, it is actually two ways we can define the routes. Either using this one is by default created by the Angular, so we can directly use here and add this routing modules into app modules.ts. I hope it is already there. So what we'll do is we'll move these routes from here to app routing.module, and both are same actually. We have created routes here, all the routes we have added here. Instead of that, we'll use the same routes inside app.routing.module. So here also we have routes. So I'll create routes here and I'll import these routes. So basically this is kind of detaching the like code refactoring, removing all the routing related stuff from here to routing module. So we'll remove this part and we'll remove this. See, if you see here, actually they are adding all the routes to the routing module, and here also they are doing same thing, router dot for route and routes. And this actual class they have already used inside the imports. So that means this is available for the application. So both are same, both functionality is same, but it is a cleanly way, like a clean way. Here we don't have anything related to routings, and routing configurations are defined inside routing module.
Got it. Okay.
So it is same.
Got it. Okay. So you can directly use it here. So we were looking for a routing module in your project. It was not there because probably we did not create that project with the routing option.
Yeah, routing. I copied from other project where we have actually created the routings using routing app routing module.ts file.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think let's good recap. Thanks, Srinivas.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next topic.
Okay. Shall I move to my project?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's already opened, I guess.
Yeah, this is strange. Why does it work here, a variable,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
and it doesn't work there?
Yeah.
Maybe
Have you select?
Yeah, see, look, when you hover over Uncle, hover over your variable.
Yeah, it is actually showing that, but it is not showing actual error. It is not a error, maybe warning kind of thing, or because if it is error, it will not load the page
Yep,
itself.
it's an warning.
Yeah, it is a warning kind of
I'm
thing.
just wondering, maybe we did not import some components or some packages to that modules. I don't know what it is. But I try to look into all the imports statements, and I didn't find anything that's missing.
Yeah, import wise, if you miss something, it will directly throw the error message actually. Uh, yeah. I'll even in Ganesh project also we are getting that mark. I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll let you know what exactly we did, and
No problem.
so what we'll today what we'll do is currently what we are in HTML page, right? What currently what we are doing is we are directly assigning some classes to the div. So these are like a static bindings for these classes. We cannot change the values at the runtime, like depending on some condition. If it is warning or error message, I want to show some
Class.
error class, and for in case of success, I want to show some classes. So these are like a predefined class is nothing. Class is a predefined one. We cannot change the value of the class value which is inside class dynamically. And we have in Angular we have different concept called ng class. Through ng class we can dynamically change the class depending on the value of value inside the TypeScript. So it is a simple concept. I'll show you how to do that. So in login component I'll use one div, and this is star ng class equal to
Oh, you can directly pass a class name to a variable?
yeah, we can pass. Otherwise, we can specify the class like success class, and here the condition we specify logged in success equal to true. So like this we can specify, and so this class is a constant class. That's why we have added inside the codes, and we can specify comma, and in case of fail,
So it dynamically assigns success or fail depending on the value for that class.
value. And even this text, right? Currently we have used two p tags. Instead of that, what I'll do is I'll use directly one variable here, login result message. So I'll use this, and
so this message, whatever is success and fail, he will do it in the component for that login message, assign it. Depending on login success or failure, that will display, and also the div class properties will automatically get assigned to the colors and fonts, and everything will automatically get assigned.
yeah, unexpected token. 1 second, first we'll do this part.
Did it fail?
Plus, yeah, it failed. 1 second. Okay. This one we have to use inside curly braces. So I'll add other code also, and we'll add. So if you want to add curly braces, you can directly come here and select the text and simply type the curly braces. It automatically adds in between the whatever selected text. It automatically add at first and last the curly braces.
Does it need to be the control plus curly or just curly braces?
Yeah, it is shift and curly braces. Shift and curly braces. It automatically. So now what we'll do is we'll add we'll initialize this variable with login success or failed. So here, in case of result true, we are changing logged in equal to true. Now what we'll do is I'll create a variable here, login success message, login result message. I'll assign this login result message. This dot here I'm specifying login successful, and similarly I'll change login failed.
So you're trying to write the less code and more of a
dynamic code. With a single line, we can achieve this functionality of success and failures using dynamic CSS as well as dynamic message. So it's redirected.
Oh, what happened?
Mar, did you change any CSS classes? Oh.
No, you're on mine, I think.
You're on his. I think your app is not started. I think your app
need to be in demo app. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll check that. Yours is stopped.
You need to use.
Okay, I think there is another one running.
Yeah, just go ahead and task manager, kill all those nodes.
There is
Yeah.
this one.
Maybe just close all of them.
Yeah, I have. Actually, in your editor, you opened two PowerShells, two terminals, and inside one terminal it is running, and other one inside other one it is stopped.
I don't know if you did not kill it, just kill it in the.
No, it is done.
Good. This is the same problem I think he had when he copied that one of the field is non-editable.
What?
No. This is not. This is a editable field, Mark. This is actually
Okay.
by default it will come like that only, but it is a editable field.
I didn't delete that.
What we'll do is we'll not this one.
Delete, but it's mine didn't work.
I'll comment this.
Oh, you are getting two messages?
I'm checking whether which one I'm getting currently. And what we'll do is we'll not redirect to some other page. Actually, we are not showing that error message because it is directly redirecting to that page.
Okay.
So we'll see that.
No, nothing.
Remove class.
What is the error?
You can
Login fail.
log in. You can see the message. Login failure success.
No, what is the error that you can't read a proper?
Error
Remove.
cannot remove the property of undefined. Undefined. Login. This is the one. 1 second. First we'll remove this and see whether the message is coming fine or not.
Yeah, let's just print that first. See.
Login failed, it worked. And
the class is not getting assigned.
this is the class, login equal to true. It is actually reading because of this.
Oh, okay. But login is always assigned, right? Value?
Always assigned, yeah. It is.
It's optional, right? You don't need it optional.
1 second more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, ng class braces long.
This one is not required.
The open.
This star is not required actually.
Yeah, that open close bracket lo unchudu. Sure, Adi.
Either we can specify like this, or we can add property binding for this one. Both are same.
Okay. You don't need star, right?
Yeah, I'll remove the star and we'll print that message.
And also, ng class is closed with open and closed brackets. I don't know if you saw that.
And this one.
Yeah.
The dynamic property binding we have used. Yeah.
That's what. Yep.
That's cool.
And now I'll change this to login success and login success message.
Yep.
So this is the syntax actually. If you miss one or two times, even we just copy paste from somewhere else and we modify. So just remember the syntax. It is a property binding for this div, and the ng class is nothing but a dynamically we can change the class depending on the some input, some value. So what I did is for ng class I used property binding, and this is the syntax. Open a curly braces, and the class name which we defined in CSS, it should be in the single quotes, and the condition. What is the condition for this? If the logged in the variable equal to true. Previously we have used same in ng if. It is kind of ng if condition. If the value is true, then assign the class, success class, to this div.
Can you do that in columns also, like have your own custom class but in single
Yes.
quotes?
Yes. If you want to display two columns, like alternative columns, I want to display different colors for alternative columns, we can use that.
Okay.
If the index is 1, like even, if the index is odd, we can specify different class.
Yeah.
We can do that. I'll try for that. Otherwise, I can explain you that. It is easy.
No,
And similarly, currently we have written only one here, and I can add multiple conditions. Like in case of fail, I want to assign this class, like fail class, to this div. So I have written another condition here. Similarly, we can write multiple conditions, like I want to assign, if I want to assign third class also, I can simply place comma here, and I can write my own another condition here. So depending on that condition, it will change the CSS class for this div, and it will basically applies that CSS class. Here if you see in console, so the class which is assigned currently is success, and if I change some other failure case here, here the class is automatically changed to fail depending on the condition. Even the message, most of the applications, right, this message will be dynamic, and it might be in different languages also. Like if the application is supporting multiple languages, like uh, English, French, different languages, so this value we cannot hard code like this. So this value, it should come from some property file, the different language text. That's why we have written different, created one variable. This variable currently we have assigned English text, but in case of this, most of the cases what we'll do is we'll read from some properties file, and we'll assign the corresponding language message here, so that it will print as is in UI, either in English or French or some Hindi or some other languages also.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a dynamic text we have assigned here, and dynamic CSS dynamic CSS we have used. So using ng class. So this is small concept. You can try for the table. What we'll do is now we'll create a simple table using service method. Using service methods, once the login is successful, like the scenario is, once the login is successful, we'll get all the student data using service method, and we'll display in UI. Later we'll add some CSS classes to that. Okay. So for that, what I'll do is in login service method, I'll create another method called get all students. So inside this class, inside this method, I'll create a student object, and I'll return that student get students. I'll create a student list equal to array I have created, and here dot
కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉండాలంటే మాటలన్నీ బయట చేస్తూ
this dot dot
గ్రూప్లోనే
0.
ఓ
I'll create an array of objects here. So for this, I'll assign first name. This is not required. Srinivas.
Concept now?
What?
Class.
The new concept?
Yeah.
Yes, Mar.
We're gonna make an array of objects. Here in table of the login that's successful.
Oh, so you're creating content, right?
Yeah. Actually, we have created a user table, right, in Gola. Similarly, once the login is successful, we'll get the list of students.
Array of objects, right?
Array of objects.
మ్యాచ్ అయిన నేమ్ ని యూజర్ నేమ్ తో మ్యాచ్ అయిన నేమ్ తీసుకొచ్చి దెన్ హోమ్ స్క్రీన్ లో ప్రింట్ చేస్తున్నాం అంతే కదా?
Yeah. And we'll display all the student details also in one page, and we'll hard code currently here, and later we'll read it from one file, so that we'll simply get into that REST APIs.
Got it. Yep. So that you're just doing the precedence for REST APIs here.
Yes.
Your screen stopped sharing.
Oh, 1 second. I'll start again. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen now?
It's loading.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. And password. Srinivas. So similarly, I will assign array here. Instead of this, we'll create an array of objects here inside this one also directly.
Okay.
And I'll create another user. First name is Ganesh and Ganesh. Yeah. So previously what we did is we have hard coded the value of username and password here. If it is I, and if password is I and username is admin, then we are returning true. Instead of that, what we will do is we'll check the username and password which is already available here, and we'll use that. Otherwise, we'll return. Basically, we'll check with the username and password of this array of students. So for that, what we'll do is we'll iterate this list. So currently we have created two objects. If you see here, one is Srinivas object, Srinivas student object, and other one is Ganesh student object. We'll iterate through this student list, and we'll check the username of this first one and the username of second one and the password of first one and second one. If anything matches, then we'll return true, otherwise we'll return false. So for that, what we'll do is I'm going to write one for loop, as we in previous classes we learned for loop, right? For I, where I equal to 0 and I equal to 0, I less than this dot student list dot length I plus plus. The if condition is same, but here what I'll do is I'll access the username from this list. So the list using index index dot username like this. So I'm getting the index value, and from that object I'm getting username. And similarly for password dot password equal to, and the username I'm not hard coding this value. I'm checking for the value which we have passed to this method. I'm checking for that, and even for password also it is same. So here what I did is, whatever value we are passing to this method username and password, I am checking whether the username and password are present in this list. So for this first name Srinivas, username should be username Srinivas and password should be Srinivas and Ganesh. If we specify these two, either of these, it should be successful, otherwise it should return fail. So for the I'll check this. Here what I'll do is, first I'll check with the II previously what we have written. So it failed because the II is not present in this list. Now what I'll do is I'll try with Srinivas and Srinivas. Login. Login is failed. We'll debug once. Login service, login method is called. So now I logged in. I am doing debug. There is some problem with the code. So the student list has, oh, got it. Actually, we have created the student list, but we haven't assigned all the values, because if these values reside inside method, if we call this method, then only the values will be assigned. If you see here, the values are empty. The values are empty here. The length is 0. If I call this method get students method here in the login method, then this will be these two values will be saved inside the student object. So what I'll do is I'll call this method here. So simply calling this method, and
So far it's fine. Also debugging it, because no matter what username he puts in, it's putting it as the same.
so now the list has so I'm calling a method here, get student method. This will go and assign these two student object into this student list. So now the student list will have two records. One is Srinivas and Ganesh. Here I am checking the username which is present inside the objects is same as the username which we have passed to this method. So now.
But none of this will match, right? Because we passed I and 0. I and I.
Yeah, I have passed. Yeah. Now I'll change this to Srinivas and Srinivas.
Yeah.
Previously, actually we didn't call this method more. That's why the object is not initialized. Yeah, and the list is coming as empty and it is failed. It failed. Now I'll change this to admin and check that. 1 second. See that. So here in the student list, the username, is here it is small letter and here it is capital letter. The object which we have created has small n, but here we are checking for user capital N name. That's why it is coming as empty. We'll do that. What we'll do is I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Now we'll see. Srinivas and Srinivas admin. Yeah, now it is successful. See, And even I'll try for Ganesh also. It will be, first I'll refresh the page. I'll remove this error message from here. Now I'll try for that. Login failed. Is it say Ganesh? One second. So it came here and it will check for the username. And the index of this is username. 1 minute. Okay, this is first one. It is checking. Now it came to first index. There is small problem we have written. So the logic which we have written is if the value is invalid, like it is checking for Srinivas and Srinivas. If it does not match, then we are returning false. We are not checking for the second object here. We are checking only for the first index. So for that, what we'll do is we'll create a
Yeah, that loop is a problem.
yeah, loop is a problem. Even in
It didn't match the first one, you are saying it false.
yeah, even we are directly simply returning from there. So now what we'll do is once this condition is true, if anything matches, it will return from here true. Otherwise, simply we'll return false from here, because if it is not successful means definitely it is a false condition. So we'll return false from here.
Yeah, so it is checking first one. If it is not true, it was assigning it false. That's why it was not checking the second one. Now if you checked everything, if nothing is true, then it will come here and assign false. Got it? Okay.
False. Yeah. Now it will work.
It's doing it was just checking if the
First one is Srinivas is there or
and
not.
then if it was failed,
Then it is
returning. Yeah, now it is successful. If I specify anything other than this, it will return login failed.
Yeah.
So currently what we did is we have dynamically checking the username and password from one object, and we can try to read these values, the first name and last name, from another file. Another file which we'll create inside the project itself, and we'll use similar to REST API, and we'll call that method, that REST API. So it will be filled with same data, and it will basically read the JSON file, the response file basically, and it will assign the object. It will do the same operation here. So I'll show you.
Usually this data will be in the database stored. Like for example, Priyanka's name and everything will be stored in a database. Now we are not using the backend concepts yet. So what Uncle is going to do is he can store that information in a normal file with the key and value. This is a key and value and idi. So every key is a unique one. Value can be duplicated, right? Yeah. So once these values are populated like this in the files, okay, from the file you can read the data in JSON file as a REST API. Okay, got it? So he's trying to tell you how a data can be retrieved from the backend from different sources, from an object or from a file, or when we go into the next backend concept, he will tell you how the same thing can be done from the database. Because database is the ultimate thing that you would use in any projects to store large amount of data in a relationship manner. So which means there will be a lot of tables, lot of information, lot of objects, how they are related, everything is stored is called a database. Okay, so now next concept will be how you do it in the backend with the database. Meanwhile, he is also showing you how you can do read the data from a file as well. Okay, is Ganesh
Yes,
కూడా అక్కడ?
Yeah.
I think he is there.
Okay.
Ganesh?
I don't see him on the call, Srinivas.
Yeah, he is. Three participants.
Oh, is it?
Is
Oh, is it?
He's
Okay.
on mute.
Okay, okay, fine. Go ahead.
yeah. So what I'll do is I'll create a object similar to these two objects. This is a JSON file. Oh, here we need to specify. It is asking to create inside double quotes. So, but even password also, it will not be saved in a plain text in real time. So it will be in encrypted format. When we pass username and password to server side, we'll decrypt the password and will match with the database. Otherwise, someone can hack the password and they can use the same password for other operations. So here we have hard-coded Srinivas and Ganesh, right? This is actually bad way to pass the declare the password using uh, plain text. It should be in encrypted format. So we have created. Give me a minute. I'll check once.
Now also created a result.json file.
Result. We'll use this result.json file in this method, and we'll assign this value, and we will use similarly how we have used. Mar, give me a minute, Mar. I'll check for the syntax how to
Fine.
read.
Yep.
Not able to. So we have created with dummy data, and
You have it already.
yeah, the syntax to call the using APIs. I'm just checking for that. Yeah, like this. So I'll comment this line and we'll use. So here what we did is the HTML for any REST APIs, right? It is like a HTTP calls. HTTP get or HTTP post or something. So for that we have to include some third-party library called HTTP module here, so that we can make any HTTP calls, or we can load the local JSON file also. So HTTP module is there. HTTP client. This they have changed actually. Yeah, it is a client module. So this module is responsible to make any REST API calls. Actually, this one, right? Most of the times they modify this HTTP client to HTTP client module. Sometimes different packages itself. So
Okay. So you need to import
HTTP
that HTTP client module and then add it to the app module.js.
app module, yeah, app module.js file. Now, see, it is throwing some message here. Okay, this is related to HTTP client. Fine. We'll initialize the HTTP client here. So in constructor, what we'll do is in constructor of service, we'll initialize the HTTP client, private HTTP client. Is it HTTP client or?
Oh, it's not HTTP client module. That's it.
No, it is HTTP, but here we have this dot student list, but here it is data. So we have to specify as any. Now there are no errors here. I need to restart the service.
But your JSON is result.json, right? Not data.json.
Yeah, result. Okay, thank you, Maurice. Result.json.
Get assets.get JSON subscribe data console.
Yeah,
Data.
I'll explain you in next class what is the format, what is subscribe and why we need to go for the subscribe and these things. But syntax is same, like HTTP, and we are making get call, and inside get call we are trying to access this result.json, which is inside assets. Assets has result.json has this data. Now we'll go and check for that. We'll first debug and see whether it is. Otherwise, we'll first try to see whether it is working fine or not. Otherwise, we'll put debug. Get student login failed. We'll debug. Is there any error in the console? 404 assets data.json we have saved.
Save చేయలేను అప్పటికి రన్ అయిపోయింది అది ng server. You need to save it again.
Yeah, I'll refresh this. Now I'll change this to Srinivas and Srinivas and admin. Got it. The problem is get JSON, get username, right? So when I try to access this, it came here, and while getting the response itself, we are making the for loop, like we are completing the for loop. That's why it is sometimes it is coming as false, sometimes it is coming as true, because see, if you see here, it came to next line, but till now this method is not completed. Actually, it went to REST API and get the data. Meanwhile it is already checking for the student.
Oh, you need to make it to sleep for some time, or what do you do?
There is a concept called join or something more, so that it will wait for some time until get the response. Then only it will go to next line and execute that. It will wait. We can wait. We'll try one more time and see whether. Now if I try now, it is successful, because in first case it is actually going to get the data. Before that only it is executing this actual logic of the login code. That's why it is failed. From next time onwards, actually the list is already filled with the data. That's why it is successful from next time. I'll show you next class how to wait for some time until the response comes from the server, unlike these REST APIs. Even in real-time scenarios also, we have to wait until the response comes from the REST APIs. Then only we have to execute this logic, actual logic. So otherwise, it will give different results for each time. So this is just we'll try to do that in next class. But meanwhile, this is a concept. Like in today's class, what we did is we have initially created one object of you students, and we iterated through this list and checked for the username and password from this list and the whatever user passed list. So these two we have verified and we have returned true or false depending on the values. And in the similar case, what we did is we have created result.json. Most of the cases we need to place all the JSON files images inside assets only. So we can see the assets folder even in, if I open it in File Explorer, we'll have in SRC folder app module, the project, and inside project we have SRC source folder. Inside source folder we have assets. So here I have created one result.json. It is a JSON object, like it will have key value pairs and array of key value pairs I have created here. So I have created array. Array means this symbol, square brackets, and inside that I have curly braces with the JSON object, first name, last name, username. So I am reading the values of this JSON result.json into my get student object, get students method using the HTTP client. So this is the get method. I can use put, post, delete. There are different kinds of methods which are available in HTTP client. I'll explain you different methods what we have inside HTTP client. And I am reading the file from this location assets.result.json, and once we get the data from this result.json, I am assigning the value, the object, into my student list, and the same student list I am using here to validate my username and login credentials. So this one till this we have completed. So what you need to do is create a similar kind of file and with more data, like another 2-3, and even try to add role also, user role, and get the user role from this list and validate.
Got it.
Instead of hard coding here.
So what I'm saying is, like, try to add more data into JSON file, like properties of a student, like marks or anything, and then try to validate and then see.
Yeah, and even for this username also, if possible, construct using first name and last name. Here we have hard-coded username. Instead of that, try to, because here once it is true, and copy this line and paste it here inside if block, and here change it to first name, student list dot first name plus space student list dot last name, so that it will give meaningful username. Okay. I'll check for this error, and I'll get back to you in next class why we are getting this error in login component for variables, these error messages.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so much.